Hi, my name is Dr. Jeffrey Weiss. This is the second episode of the podcast Medicine Confidential, where I will discuss various things that the patient has no idea of, that it is more important than ever for you to know as the quality of medical care in this country is getting worse. Today we're going to speak about doctors. You know what you call the worst student in a medical school class at the end of 4 years? Doctor. And you have no idea whether that's the guy you're seeing. And in fact, you may not even see him. You may be seeing his physician extender. That is the PA. Now, what are the PAs? Well, they're trained, and a lot of them are very, very good. But it also depends who they work for. If the physician they're working for isn't very good, then they don't have much of a chance, do they? When I did volunteer work in the South Pacific, they had medical officers, and these were trained people who could do a beautiful hernia operation or gallbladder surgery, but they weren't doctors. They were trained to do that specifically. And that's really what's happening to medicine now. Physicians are becoming technicians. They have no time to do research, individual research. They couldn't get it funded anyway. All research in this country really is done by sponsors like drug companies or instrument companies. There's a shocking statistic that more than 250,000 people die each year from medical mistakes by doctors, nurses, hospitals. I mean, that's horrible. And you know the number is much greater than that. And the number is going up. Another frightening number is that most deaths in hospitals occur at night and on the weekends. Why? There's less staff. A bank is guarded 7 days a week. They don't say on the weekend they don't have to. And yet hospitals work Monday through Friday. I've been in the hospital twice. And the first time I was getting antibiotics, and the night nurse scanned my ID and scanned the bag and then hung the incorrect antibiotic. It was for a different patient. I caught it because knowing how everything works, nurses at night are especially short-staffed. This particular nurse's English wasn't very good. I was at a for-profit hospital, and that really explains it. It's for profit. They want to make as much money as possible. So at night, there were insufficient staffing. You could ring the bell, but nobody would come. I wasn't supposed to get out of bed, but I needed to go to the bathroom. And after 40 minutes, nobody came, and I crawled out of bed. Um, More recently, I had surgery, and I was supposed to stay in the hospital 2 days. The pain medicine, there was a clock on the wall that was broken. I asked somebody to fix it or replace it, and she told me that wasn't her job. I never got it replaced. Um, at night, my IV bag ran out, and I rang, but nobody came. Several times they would turn my alarm off. I heard alarms up and down the floor going off. I heard one man screaming for his mother Nobody came. Hours and hours and hours. I never got another IV bag. In the morning, I needed to get out of bed, and there was a drug rep walking by, and I asked her to help me out of bed because I was supposed to do some walking. And I told the surgeon I'm leaving because I have better care at home. I didn't stay to 2 days. I went home because I had a family there who could watch me. There was nobody there. Interestingly, I got more than a half a dozen surveys from the hospital about the care. I filled them out, but I noticed that this had been reported, was online, and obviously the lack of care has been going on for a very, very long time. And they never did anything about it. This hospital was not for profit, and yet I see them spending a lot of money on advertising rather than having some care. Now, doctors are people like everybody else. You have good ones, you have bad ones, you have nice ones, you have miserable ones. Medicine is a calling. You would have to, like a teacher or a religious leader, if they go into the field because they like the trappings of medicine. I'm speaking to the guys who wear the completely starched white jackets and carry the stethoscope around their neck even though they never use it, and insist everybody calls them doctor. And I notice that they don't even say hello to the staff when they walk through into the hospital, because they're above that. There's an old joke that people are up in heaven and somebody comes running by with a stethoscope and they ask, "Who is that?" "Oh, that's God. He's playing doctor." Um, when a doctor becomes arrogant, he becomes an executioner. These are people who don't want to learn. Interestingly, I have written about 10 textbooks in different fields, not just my own. And each one has sold thousands and thousands of copies except one particular one. And that was in neurology. And I have found that neurologists, and probably why they go into the field, they're very difficult to teach. They know what they know, and that's it, and they're not open to new ideas. Thomas Kuhn, who wrote The Structure of Scientific Revolution, speaks about how it takes, on average, 20 years to institute something new. In a later episode, I'm going to give a talk about Profiles in Courage, Medical Heroes. I actually wrote this book. It's on Amazon. It's inexpensive. The history of medicine is worse in that medicine, the doctors eat their own. It's been said that medicine is advanced one funeral at a time. And it's true. Even when the evidence is obvious, people either don't want to know it or learn it. And there's many reasons for that. Jealousy, bias. When you go to see your doctor, you don't know what's going on in his mind. He really doesn't have any skin in the game in taking care of you because you're like a McDonald's hamburger. You're one of many. He's rushed. He's seeing lots. And I say he. It's he or she. I'll just use the he pronoun because it's easier for me. But this applies to any physician. They're rushed. Everything is billing. And you can understand if you have several $100,000 in debts from medical school, you have to see patients. And if you can't open a practice because it's too expensive, then you're working for somebody. And that person is not altruistic. They want to make money. More so if you're working for a hospital, and whether it's for profit or not for profit. When I was at Harvard, they kept piling on more patients. I started off seeing one patient at 8 o'clock and another at 8:15. Then it became two at 8 o'clock, and two at 8:15. Then it became three, and people were there for hours. I had NIH grants paying for my research for half my time, but suddenly the patients went into 60% of my time, and then 70% of my time, and then 80% of the time, because the institution wanted to make money. And they made more money me doing surgeries and seeing patients. Now, it's interesting, as a condition of licensure, every 2 years, I have to take classes, and it's really in one particular one about medical errors. Every 2 years, it's the same class, and they keep showing a NASCAR team where the car goes into the pit, and everybody works on it immediately. And it's the most ridiculous thing, because doctors are not the captain of the team. We control no hiring whatsoever at a hospital. We're only the captain of the ship if we get sued. The hospitals are understaffed. Some of the people are only working there because they can't get a job anywhere else. And it's the most ridiculous thing. But, this is the mirage that everything's created. Politicians get the best medical care. Interestingly, the wealthy sometimes do not, because they go to the Hollywood doctors who may not be the smartest, or the professors who want their own labs funded and aren't open-minded because they didn't think of it. And I've seen that time and time again, that some very, very wealthy people get the worst care. And when you try to speak to their doctors, either they ignore you or they steal it, which has happened to me as well. I won't mention names. But you have to be smart. You have to be your own advocate. When I first came to town and introduced myself to everyone, there was one doctor who just wouldn't talk to me. I'd see him in the hospital. I'd say good morning, walk right by me. I remember I held my hand out. He wouldn't shake it. He just walked right by me. This went on for years and years and years. One day, I get a call in my office. Jeff, how are you doing? My first name is Jeffrey. I'm thinking, wow, would you like to hear about the last 8 years? And I'm listening. He's talking about the weather and the food at the hospital and everything else. I'm thinking, what do you want? Didn't say it. And then at the end, he gets to it. His wife had a problem. And he knew I was the best person and wanted me to see her, which of course I did. But all of the patients in all those years, he sent to his friend. And if you were one of those patients, that's where you went. But when it was his wife, suddenly he wanted me. You need to be careful. I know it's very difficult. They say there are 3 A's with medicine, about doctors: availability, affability, and ability, in that order. You have to be available, but you as a patient, you just know if the person is nice, if he's nice to you. Now, if you needed surgery, would you care if he was nice, or you want the best surgeon? It's like an airline pilot. You care about his personal life or a chef. You just want the meal to be good and you want the flight to be safe and you want the surgery to be good. I have met in my time some people who were affable and nice and all this, and they were terrible surgeons, but they had big practices. When I was at Harvard, there were some superb doctors, but there were also some doctors there that were superb at writing grants and getting money, or whose parents donated a lot of money, or they were the son or daughter of somebody important, and they weren't particularly good doctors at all. But you as a patient wouldn't know. You just know if the person's pleasant. So I'm mentioning this not to scare you, but to make you aware of it. Years ago, I operated on a patient using a treatment that I'll speak about in a later podcast that I developed and I invented, because my entire medical life, I've always done research, things I invented. I hold more than 23 patents. I've written more than 20 books. I've actually written a couple of plays. Um, and that's what gets me up in the morning. I love what I do. And as a physician, I didn't want to be just a technician, because that's not a physician. A physician wants to make things better. A physician wants to heal people. He wants to make them happy. It's like Jefferson said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, being healthy is happy. If it was up to me, I'd snap my fingers and make every sick person well. And I have a multitude of different inventions and different things I've been working on. Um, I actually have a device that may help blind people see. I have a device that will diagnose Alzheimer's disease earlier. Different things I'm working on. And that to me is what a physician should do. And I recall that a patient was once sent to me. They had a blockage in their artery inside their eye and they lost all their vision. And I recommended hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And I'm actually certified in hyperbaric oxygen, open, and had a hyperbaric oxygen center. And the person's vision all came back. And then the patient told me when they went back to their doctor, they said that I was crazy for trying that. And then when the doctor checked the vision, saw it all came back, he was amazed, called me up and told me I was a genius. Just to accept that somebody loses the vision and you can't do anything about it is just ridiculous. When I try to explain this to actually a patient who's very, very famous, and they went back to their doctor in California, he said he never heard of it, and that was it, and tried to get them enrolled in a study that he was a member of. And she never got it, and her sight got worse, and that's a pity. And the study that he was working on was drug company sponsored, because doctors make a lot more money doing studies than they do by seeing a patient. Much more money. Plus, you get taken out to dinners and you get all kinds of benefits. And everybody likes to be treated well. I mean, you're going to refuse a steak dinner at a fancy restaurant and to be wined and dined when you go to meetings? I mean, and so this is the reality that doctors are people and they want to make money. And you need to be aware of this. Well, that's it for this session. Next time I'm going to speak about HMOs and different insurance companies. Have a nice day.